CGTN.
We turn our attention to Sudan now, where the U.S. has announced that it plans to impose sanctions on the country after determining that the army-aligned government had used chemical weapons during its ongoing conflict with the paramilitary rapid support forces. This is according to the U.S. State Department. Measures against Sudan will include limits in U.S. exports and government lines of credit. The sanctions will take effect upon publication of a notice in the Federal Register expected on or around June the 6th. The U.S. is calling on Sudan's government to cease all chemical weapons use and uphold its obligations under the Chemical Weapons Convention Treaty banning their use. Sudan's foreign ministry did not immediately respond to a request for comment. In January, Washington imposed sanctions on Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, accusing him of choosing war over negotiations to bring an end to the conflict. Well, still in Sudan, the army has announced the discovery of mass graves near Omdurman, the twin city of the capital Khartoum. In a statement on social media, it said that over 460 bodies were found in the Al-Salha district south of the city during an operation to clear the area. The victims were among nearly 650 civilians who had been detained by the RSF and died as a result of neglect, including lack of food and medicine. The army also said that it found civilians and retired members of the regular forces being held inside a school in the area and used as human shields. This announcement was made just 2 days after the army declared Khartoum state cleared of the presence of the RSF. Well, Momin Al-Maki is in Port Sudan and joins us now with more on those stories. Hi there, Momin. Momin, how has the government reacted to the U.S. statement on the use of chemical weapons?
Yes, speaking about the Sudanese government response to these sanctions, the Sudanese government have refused these sanctions, and we saw the spokesperson of the government, Khalid Al-Aisir, saying that, accusing USA of fabricating its decisions on baseless reports. He also said that the Sudan will not accept be blackmailed by USA. He said also that the United States of America are hindering the prosperity and peace and all the good for the Sudanese people. Also, the Minister of Foreign Affairs have issued a statement condemning these sanctions, which will take place in the next 15 days. What we know about these attacks is that the Sudanese army has conducted, according to sources inside U.S. administration and also inside the rapid support forces, that there were 2 attacks in the past year. One of them was at the end of the year in Shangal Tobai area, south of Al-Fashir, the capital of North Darfur state. At that time, the spokesperson of RSF had accused the army of using chemical weapons and called the international community to interfere. According to sources, Sudanese army has used the chlorine gas, which causes respiratory distress and disease, and this has been used at least twice.
Momin, let's talk about those mass graves that were found in Omdurman. What do we know about those mass graves and the people who died, and what has the army said about that, and how is the news being received in Khartoum and areas like Port Sudan where you are?
The mass graves, the Sudanese army, after liberating the southern areas of Omdurman and announcing Khartoum capital as free from RSF, found a mass grave and that belongs to the RSF inside this detention center, or which is a Salha school. Was more than 600 people inside this detention center. Behind the detention center was a mass grave containing more than 465 prisoners, which were killed under torture and under medical and food neglection inside this detention center. This isn't new. The army has discovered many mass graves since it has captured the Khartoum capital. One of them was in Garri, containing 550 bodies inside it.
So, Momin, what do we know about the survivors and what's next for them? What are you hearing the army has planned for them?
Yes, speaking about the survivors, the Sudanese army has transferred in the past weeks hundreds of survivors to the hospitals. The survivors from this detention center in particular.
الوقت مش مهم والمكان مش مهم.
Specialized and no hospital where the government has made a department specialized on the captured and on the prisoners. Since the army has begun to take control over Khartoum, hundreds and thousands of prisoners hospitalized in this department in particular. Right now, hundreds of these prisoners are taking medical care inside this department. Also, a number of those who have been freed up by the Sudanese army had been delivered safely to their families in Khartoum and also outside Khartoum.
Thank you so much for all those details, Momin. Momin Al-Maki speaking to us from Port Sudan in Sudan. Well, to neighboring South Sudan now. The UN rights chief has urged warring parties to de-escalate conflict as intensified fighting risks further deteriorating the human